uranium that's actually guaranteed by the Non-Proliferation Treaty, which they're signers. Well, I said in the West, that's the way it's looked at, not the rest of the world. In fact, I was quite dramatic in the last couple of weeks when the non-aligned movement met in Tehran. I don't know if it was reported much here. It was kind of ignored in the United States. That's most of the world, about 120 countries, most of the world's population. And they issued a ringing endorsement of Iran's right to enrich uranium. That's not the first time. It's many times that they've done it. It's usually ignored. They're considered unpeople, to borrow Orwell's word. In the Arab world, again, it's different for the reasons I mentioned. Well, there is a well-known reason, a basic reason for the concern over Iranian nuclear weapons in the West. It was actually articulated succinctly by American General Lee Butler. He's the former head of the U.S. Strategic Command, which was in charge of nuclear weapons and general strategy. He wrote that it is dangerous in the extreme that in the cauldron of animosities that we call the Middle East, one nation should arm itself with nuclear weapons which may inspire other nations to do so. General Butler, however, was not referring to Iran. He was referring to Israel, which has hundreds of nuclear weapons, and unlike Iran, it refuses to allow inspections or to join the Non-Proliferation Treaty. There was a rare glimpse into the scale and character of this awesome nuclear arsenal, thanks to Mordechai Vanunu. He was, as you know, kidnapped and taken to Israel. He's been tortured for years, still essentially under arrest. That aroused very little concern or even attention in the West. This university is a rare and I think unique exception. As I'm sure you know, he was granted an honorary degree and offered a faculty position if he ever is released. That's a very honorable stance of which you should be proud. Well, in addition to a huge nuclear arsenal, Israel has a very advanced military force. Just a couple of months ago, it was enhanced further when Germany sent more they've been sending submarines to Israel, Dolphin-class submarines, which are capable of holding missiles with nuclear warheads. That pretty obvious why they're there. They are no doubt are being deployed off the coast of Iran. They can carry out a devastating attack. There are no problems about overflights and anything of that sort. Israel also has a long record of violence and repression. It's settling conquered territories, illegally of course, and it's also annexed some of them in violation of explicit Security Council orders, but the situation is like Western Sahara and France. The United States authorizes it, so it doesn't matter. There have been many acts of aggression. Israel's invaded Lebanon 5 times. Very devastating invasions, no credible pretext. In Gaza, an imprisoned enclave, just last couple of years, hundreds of civilians have been killed by drone attacks. It's part of the Obama's international, Israel's part of it, the U.S.-Israeli international assassination campaign. And surely here in Tromsø, it's unnecessary to mention the hideous massacre of 2008-2009. This is called infanticide by the remarkable Norwegian physicians, one of them's here, Mats Gilbert and Erik Fosse, who worked right through the atrocities at the major hospital, shocking crimes, And they wrote an unforgettable book about what happened, which everyone should read. It's unfortunately, it's unknown among the perpetrators, virtually unknown in Israel and the United States. But it's not unusual either. There's another act of aggression which actually is in the news now, somewhat misleadingly, namely the Israeli attack on the Iraqi reactor in Osirak in 1981. That's now praised. Of course, supposedly stopped Saddam Hussein from developing nuclear weapons. But what's rarely mentioned is that it didn't delay Iraq's nuclear weapons program. It initiated it. The reactor that was attacked was incapable of producing materials for nuclear weapons. We even know that from U.S. intelligence. But after the bombing, of course, not surprisingly, they initiated a secret nuclear weapons program. And that may well happen if Iran is bombed as well, rather likely. Well, meanwhile, severe threats of attack continue from the United States, primarily Israel, where there are some major questions being debated in public, press and so on. One question is whether Israel should attack before the American elections or after the American elections. The other question is whether they should do it alone or somehow entice the United States to do it for them. There is a response to that from the United States. Leon Panetta, the Minister of Defense Secretary, War Department, if we were honest, he reacted to this and said, after it used to be called the War Department until 1947, and as soon as it changed from the War Department to the Defense Department, anyone with any brains knew the U.S. wasn't going to be involved in any defense anymore. So now every War Department is now called the Defense Department. Panetta responded by saying that, well, we don't think it's a good idea for them to attack, but they're a sovereign country, so if they decide to do it, it's their right. I mean, if it had been reversed and, say, Iran was making these threats, the reaction would be slightly different. Those of you who may have antiquarian interests may recall that there's a document called the UN Charter from way back in prehistory, 1945, which begins by barring the threat or use of force in international affairs. Those are crimes. But in the case of rogue states, for whom international law is an irrelevance, to some quaint irrelevance, of course, that doesn't matter. And the European Union goes along, virtually no comment about it. The government hysteria in Israel is surprising enough, but the rhetoric of prominent and influential figures is even more startling. For example, the chief Sephardic rabbi, Ovadia Yosef, is the head of the Shas Party, which is a major element in the government coalition. He opposes Israel's bombing of Iran. He thinks it would be too dangerous for Israel. Instead, I'll quote him, he calls on God, wipe them out, kill them, destroy them, God, obliterate them from the face of the earth. That's Iran, Hezbollah, and Hamas. So those aren't just words. There is an ongoing war, assassination of scientists, economic war, a very severe punishment by the United States of the banks and others who were accused of violating what are in fact unilateral U.S. sanctions. Iran has been shut out of the international financial system by such threats. Nobody's willing to step on the toes of the master. That's too dangerous.